This video series is about breaking down the creative process. I am a writer of numerous books. I don't have any real notoriety, but I've been doing it for many years, and I just have my process down pat. I also work as a graphic designer and a motion designer, for video and things like that. And at one stage I was working in the games industry as a games designer. Throughout this time, I've had numerous people. They've mentioned that they themselves have ideas for a game or a book or a website, and some people have asked me how I approach my own work, because they just know I'm pretty hard at it. No, I'm pretty serious at it. Things that I've heard are people quite often just have no idea where to get started, or they have started and they don't know how to progress. A lot of people think they know how to progress, but in describing what they do, it's become pretty clear that they've got a big mountain ahead of them that they don't actually see. So that's what this channel's about. It's about me breaking down my own processes and hopefully helping a hell of a lot of people out there who I know have ideas of their own that they want to put into play. The best way I can do this is to straight up write a story. So that's what I'm going to do. I have a concept for a novel, and over the next however many videos it needs to be, I will be developing that novel into a fully polished product that I thoroughly intend on selling on my store. So if that sounds interesting to you, like and subscribe, and I hope you like the video. So I've had a weird month this last month. I got sick at the beginning of it, and I had a few negative sort of things happen at the same time. Nothing serious, and I wasn't very sick or anything, but it was just it all sort of compiled in together in one of those sort of states where I just wasn't sleeping very well, and I didn't have any energy to do anything. Whenever I get into those states, naturally, like most people, I just end up consuming more than I'm producing, just watching a lot of Netflix and movies and whatever it is. Problem is whenever I have one of those periods, I end up coming up with an idea for a story. Now, I have absolutely no time whatsoever to write another book. I'm already redeveloping my entire back catalogue at the moment, and so I can relaunch all the books over the next couple of years. So this book would have not seen the light of day for potentially, several years down the track. So there was really nothing I was going to do with it. I just wrote down the notes, and I was expecting just to leave it. But then it came to me. I will use it as the rails of this creative series that I want to do, this creative series. In this particular case, I was watching YouTube videos on the Crusades, and I binge watched the crap out of them, and from that came the concept for this book that I'm calling Our Lot. So, with Our Lot as the center point, throughout this series I will be covering my main strategy, which I refer to as white box prototyping. Now, I haven't actually named it before, but just for this series I tried to sort of break it down into actual using naming conventions and things, and in thinking about it, it really does refer back to a technique that we used to use in game development. I will take you through a technique I call a concept strafe, and I then will be fleshing out all those ideas. I will show you my techniques for referencing and researching and where my head is going in terms of building theme and focus on characters and all this type of thing. But I will also be relating those techniques out to other fields, game development, website development. It can be applied to music, though I'm not a musician myself. I understand visual art. I'm not an artist. I'm a graphic designer, but I've worked with visual artists and things a lot, so I understand their processes as well, so I'll be relating it across to those. From there, I'll go through, I'll write this book, and I will check in with you constantly, showing you what I've done and why I have done it, and what I'm thinking. I will be changing it regularly. Like I am not anticipating perfection by any means, and that's the point of this. You will see where I have gotten things wrong, and I will tell you where I'm thinking about changing, and I will change it and see if it works or not. I will go through my refinement and editing stages, because with my books, I do everything myself. I obviously write them and research all that type of stuff, but I also do my own covers, my own layout. I make them into ebooks. I make them, get them ready for print, and do all the video banners and things on my website. I do everything. Now, I do not recommend that you do this, and I imagine most people will recommend that you don't do this. It is not a good idea for authors to be making their own covers, and I've over the last 10 years, I have finally learned why that is. I used to think it was simply because authors just don't have the skills, but that is not the case. It is something entirely different. But what started for me as simple financial necessity has wound up being fundamental to my brand. I now do everything myself by principle. And I am saving tens of thousands of dollars because of it, because I don't have to hire designers, and I don't need to buy tools to format my ebook. And now people may not think I'm very good at any of those individual things, but that's completely irrelevant, because that's not what this channel is about. This channel is about the process. And my broad range of skills across all those fields makes me quite uniquely suited for this task. Not many authors are going to be able to take you completely through this process from concept to launch. So that's the benefit of my perspective here. So I will also be taking you through my processes in terms of post-production, laying out your book for print or as an ebook. I'll be taking you through cover design, and I'll be doing that quite intensively, I think. And it's the same process. It starts from concept stage, and I'll be explaining what my thought processes are, what I would be doing if it was a commercial focus versus a creative focus, getting it ready for ebook versus print, and actually probably a motion banner as well, because I usually do animated variants of my covers in order to make as for banners on my site. That usually involves keeping that in mind right from the concept stage, and I'll explain all that to you as I go along. Another thing I will be doing is creating an audiobook, and this is something I actually haven't done before. I've been experimenting a bit in audio stuff for these videos I've been doing earlier on in this channel. And although my voice sucks, I've worked out these techniques, and so I figured that I might as well give it a shot for this and just figure out the process for myself. And then maybe people like yourselves who have far better voices might be able to create your own audiobooks for your own work, based on the techniques that I work out. Now, the thing is, I don't actually know how long this is going to take. A book the size of our lot would normally take me about maybe 2 months to be safe to write. It's not a big book. I'm keeping it purposefully contained. But normally I'm not trying to anchor it through a video channel, so I honestly have no idea how long this is going to take. I'm going to be actively stopping myself, and when I get to have a big breakthrough or something, I'll be write notes down and then make a video on it to update you guys and everything. So this might end up taking me an entire year. I have no idea. I will be trying to release a video a week, but obviously it will not be all to do with this book. I will be interspersing in between these videos a whole heap of single topic videos about creativity along the way. Things I want to cover are psychology and morale, things like dealing with depression and creative block and so on. Finding your style and when not to use it. Along those lines, I'll be explaining the difference between creative and commercial work. Another video is managing your dreams and your concept of success. I'll be making a video on managing vice and creativity and delivering your shadow. I will also be focusing on Wattpad and writing communities, and I'll be doing a video on working with others. Now, in the case of writers, it'll be like working with designers. In fact, I'll be doing a video specifically on how to choose and to talk with visual artists and designers, because I know most of you guys aren't going to be designers yourselves. You're going to be hiring a designer or an artist to do your book covers. I work as a graphic designer and I do authors' covers for them. So I know what the designer is looking for and I know what the author is looking for. I'm going to do a video specifically on explaining how you guys can best choose the right designer and approach them and so forth, and how the designer themselves can respond to the authors. Because I think a lot of designers are very flippant with authors' works. And I think a lot of authors are really cheap bastards. So I'll be focusing on that. Now, this series is not to tell you how to do this. This is my process. And I know through many years of experience that I am a pretty individual guy, and I'm not talking purely for my benefit. There are definitely pros and cons to being that way. But what I'm doing is I'm just going to be breaking down my process, laying it all out, so maybe you guys can pick something here and there which might get you past your little block that you're on, or give you an idea to try something new. I also hope that you guys will be suggesting things to me, because I am always looking for new techniques. I'm always developing new techniques. It just makes me far more efficient. You may not like my work. I have a very specific style, and a lot of people, I imagine, don't like it. But again, that's not the point. This is about the process. That being said, however, I also want to make it clear that this narrative, the narrative for our lot, is going to be entirely mine. Because again, this book I thoroughly intend to launch on my site as a Danny Stray work. It's going to have my signature on it, so therefore the story is mine. I am going to be completely disregarding any suggestions for the narrative in the comments. I will be absolutely welcoming the suggestions on techniques and response and questions on techniques. If you want me to expand anything out, by all means do it. I'll do a follow-up video. But again, this is me creating this work under my name for sale on my store. So the story, the narrative progression is entirely mine. That being said, a lot of people out there are going to know a hell of a lot more than I do about the time period. And a lot of you guys are going to know a lot more about that period than me at the moment, because I've only just started. If you, and when you see me running through these concepts and you pick little details I'm missing, or French peasants don't do this, or these lords wouldn't wear that, or whatever, by all means, man, chuck it down in the comments. I am open and willing to learn. What else was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, that's it. This is just the intro for the whole thing, so I'll leave it there. If this all sounds interesting to you, like and subscribe, all that type of thing. I've completely reset my Patreon. I will also be launching, finally, one of my books, Tacticolo, very soon. It's just been currently on hold due to some sort of delays with the print-on-demand service that I want to use. But that will be at least out in an ebook form sometime in the next few weeks, and then following up with paperback. And over the following years, I'll be relaunching my series, Jive 35, then Gold Digger, then hopefully Writing Mission, then Dreamland, and all the associated books with all of those. I've got a good maybe 25 books coming out in the next few years or so. I'll say like 5 years or so. And so check out my books. I've got 2 books for free at the moment on my website. They're actually Star Wars novels. It's a trilogy that I've written called The Order of One, the first 2 episodes of that. And they are, actually, there you go. If you want an introduction to my style, that's it. They are not Star Wars novels. I simply had an idea for a story set in the Star Wars galaxy, so that's how I wrote it. And I was watching Sopranos and Rome and Deadwood and all that at the time, so that's sort of that heavily influenced. Anyway, The video immediately following this one is about the value of ideas themselves. And following that, our lot, the actual story, and I'll be getting started on that. And that may actually be quite long, so I'll probably divide it up into multiple videos, but I will launch them all together at once. So yeah, that's it. If this all sounds interesting to you, like and subscribe, do the usual, and let's get started.